I am your host, James Yoder. We are the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports, taking your questions on this 2023 Wolverines offseason. And it's not one that's ever drama-free. This Wolverines program always seems to have quite a bit of drama, and there is some beef for the former All-American level, All-Big Ten Pro Bowl player, Taylor Lewan. All right, had to talk about this one. Had to make sure you guys knew about it. You probably saw it out there. It kind of went viral on Tuesday. Taylor Lewan played at Michigan 10 years ago or so. My heart is in shambles after finding out that he got a cease and desist from Michigan. I'm upset. I wish I would get some understanding why. Let me talk about that story in a minute, but do want to remind you, if you want to get your question on the show, use hashtag Michigan in the live chat, or anytime you use hashtag Michigan in the on-demand comments. We'll check those from time to time, once a week, and we can get those on the show as well. Use hashtag Michigan to get your question on the show. Taylor Lewan. Cease and desist from Michigan. All right, he put out a video where he was kind of walking around talking about it. But what happens? He's got a podcast with Will Compton called Bussin' the Boys. They signed up with Barstool Sports a couple years ago, and now they're trying to monetize the show even more. They're putting out their own merchandise on the Barstool Sports store. Let's take a look at a couple of them. So here is the popular shirt that they apparently have. It says The Boys, right? The show is Bussin' with the Boys. They do a podcast with popular athletes, etc., in a bus. It's not a crazy concept, but it's pretty intriguing. They have some good interviews from time to time. Harbaugh was on there last year. That does look at the Michigan logo, though. Michigan has the Wolverine logo. It's altered a little bit, right? It doesn't have anything Michigan specifically, but they own that one, so I get it, and it's kind of, okay, yellow and blue, maize and blue, and they've got this one. We took a screenshot of Lewan's video, so you're up in his grill. Again, that doesn't say Michigan on it, but I don't know. Are you trying to impersonate Michigan? Are you trying to deceive the audience? Michigan sent us an inquiry one time. We had a Michigan logo in the background of a show one time. Like, you can't put our logo in the background of the show. That's why we use these bad boys. It's okay, we can't use ours. We're going to stick it to you. We're going to use the emoji so you can't ever mess with us. You know the emoji. The internet owns the emoji. So I can see where Michigan's coming from. But I do think that the Wolverines are really dropping the ball here. Michigan does an excellent job and looking like idiots in a lot of things when it comes to pushing their brand out. They seem to want to keep everything in-house. Everything comes to Michigan. Taylor Lewan, popular podcast. Barstool, popular company with college kids, with high school kids. Why would you not embrace it? He said, we'd love to work with Michigan. We'd love to license the deal. If they did it, they probably have to up the price on that. Maybe it's a $26 shirt. Okay, it's a $35 shirt. It's a $30 shirt now. Michigan gets the first $5, $6 of every sale. Great, they're making some more money. That Michigan name's getting out there. It's got a Michigan logo on it, whatever. But I think it could be the opportunity for Michigan to say, okay, we partner with Taylor Lewan. That was pretty easy. We're making $5, $6. Why don't we say, hey, Taylor, how about whoever company you use for these T-shirts? We introduced you to Diamond Edwards. We introduced you to J.G. McCarthy, to Blake Corum. Make some shirts for them. Get going with them. Make sure they can buy T-shirts or gear, a hat that says J.G. McCarthy, whatever it is. McCarthy has his. I think Michigan's dropped the ball. They're doing things. Why would they just send one to Taylor Lewan, who's got a big platform, without kind of at least kind of back channeling, hey, Taylor, you want to talk about this? They just sent him a legal letter, and I think it's a disappointment and a shame. But what's not a shame is we made our own shirts, because I love the nickname The Don. My son is only 6 years old. He's finally understanding sports, and those two plays, 75, 85 yards, are like his favorite two sports plays of all time. Really the only two that he ever can remember. He can recite the Gus Johnson calls. So I made a T-shirt myself. I've got one. We sold about 150 of them now, and now we're just going to put them on sale now. We've kind of had them out there for a while. Now we'll just keep them on sale for the off season. Chatsports.com/The Don. The price is $29.07. We're not making a ton of money on them. They're really high-quality shirts, making a few bucks per shirt. If you guys start buying them a bunch, I will contact Michigan Diamond Edwards for back channel and raise the price by a few bucks, give him $5 a shirt, but we've only sold about 150, so it's not even worth his time to make $500-$600 at this point. But go get one. We get up to 500 sales or something like that. I will do everything we can to contact Diamond Edwards to see if he'd be interested in saying, hey, let's just license your name. We'll give you $5 per shirt. You promote it. But until then, we'll just keep doing it, help pay for Jack's lap dances when he goes. I'm kidding, Jack, you crazy guy. He would never do that. So chatsports.com/Don7 is the link. All right. Take a look at this question. Who is your more hated rival, right? Most hated rival out of these two. And I don't mean out of any, I don't think that, I mean obviously Ohio State. So out of these two teams, Michigan State or Notre Dame? Which of these two rivals do you hate more, ND or MSU? I think after last year, it's got to be MSU. When Michigan's playing Notre Dame every year, I could see it being Notre Dame. It probably was for me in the early 2000s when Michigan was dominating Michigan State, and Notre Dame seemed to kind of creep up and have a really good year and then a bad year, but they'd still beat Michigan and sometimes. But I think as of now, it's got to be Michigan State, and the live chat is pretty unanimous. It is Michigan State. Type ND, type MSU. Let me know. We got Michael, Kaysen, Mike, and Michael and Bill all saying MSU. Next question coming in from Big House Party. If Michigan has another huge season, will we have more Harbaugh at Michigan NFL talk? Pretty interesting question. Like it. Want to talk about it more in a second. I think Charles Woodson had a good point. If you guys saw what we talked about with Charles Woodson yesterday, Chase Sr. out at the Super Bowl, asked Woodson about Harbaugh and the NFL rumors. He had a pretty good point, which is, look, players can transfer themselves, but I think Jim Harbaugh needs to go one way or the other. Sean Payton got $18 million a year from the Broncos. If Harbaugh wanted that job and wanted a 5-year, $90 million, $100 million deal, he should have pursued it a little harder. If he goes into next offseason and we do this whole charade one more year, I'm probably going to be pretty pissed off, honestly, because as a fan and as just being fair to your players, fair to your coaches, fair to your administrators, your fans, it's just getting old at this point. And I wish Jim Harbaugh would just kind of say, I've got a long-term deal, I've got a big buyout, and I'm not going to dive into the NFL because this should be Harbaugh's best team they've had at Michigan coming up next year. And so if there's ever going to be a team that wants him in the NFL, 3 straight great years, I mean, he's going to be hotter than ever. He should just put out a statement. He should sign a contract and have absolutely one rumor comes out, just smacks it down. Didn't really do that the last 2 years, and I think it's really hurt Michigan's team and their recruiting. But ultimately, back-to-back Big Ten championships, maybe it didn't hurt him all that much. But I'll ask you guys this question. 2 seasons from now, after 23, after 24, will Jim Harbaugh be Michigan's head football coach? Let me know what you guys think. Give me a Y or a yes. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Comment down below in the comment section or on the live chat. Go ahead and give me a Y or N. Pretty much unanimous in the couple early chats in the live chat. Yes, no from Netmeg. 2 seasons from now. Let me know what you guys think. Y or M or N. Today's Michigan Football Report is sponsored by Fume. We all have bad habits, folks, and we certainly know how hard it can be to kick those bad habits. Our sponsor, Fume, is on a mission to accelerate humanity's breakup from bad habits that consume far too many of us. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. I didn't expect much out of Fume when I got it, but the minty sensation is really powerful and it hits the back of the throat. The Journey Pack that you see here on screen with me has 3 awesome unique flavors: maple pepper, crisp mint, and white cranberry. You just stick those bad boys in there. It's not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. The easiest way to stop a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed perfectly to do just that. Head to tryfume.com/chatsports. It's down in the comments in the description and the live chat. Use code CHATSPORTS, no spaces, to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS to save an additional 10% off on your order when you get started with Fume. Take a look at this bad boy. That's the Fume. We're going to give one of these away in about 20 minutes from now. We've got a Fume we're going to give away with a helmet and a Michigan football t-shirt. You got to just put a little thing in there, folks. You take a little puff. Not a smoker myself, but I did take a puff of this earlier today. I got a contact buzz, Jack. I'm not going to lie to you. Fume is pretty cool. And basically trying to say, trying to help you get rid of those negative habits. Last week's show, 2 weeks ago, we had our last live show. John Crandall and Decap were our MVPs, the most super chats. Prior to that, you saw the leaderboard. John Blaze, Wolverine Alaska, Blue Wolverine, Cool Moti, Rock City, and others were on there. We're going to do a bunch of giveaways here in about 15 minutes on the live show. If you're watching on demand later in the week, we put this question and answer session up on the channel. Go back in the live show. Watch it about the hour and 10-minute mark, and we will have all kinds of giveaways. Next question up from Gaddis Milf Hunter. He says, what are the most important things Michigan needs to do in order to win the national title? Well, good thing we had this up, kind of queued up Jack's in my ear. So we've got your keys to the national title for a show next week, so let's show them now. My number one key to a national title for Michigan next year is let J.J. cook. When forced to do so. Ohio State game when they're stacking the box. First half, earliest part of the second half. Inside the 5-yard line. J.J. McCarthy slamming into the Ohio State defender. J.J. McCarthy got the job done. When Michigan was down in the second half against TCU, he mostly got the job done. But he had those 2 pick sixes. Going down the sideline to a double-covered Colson Loveland in the Big Ten Championship game. J.J. McCarthy got the job done. I think Michigan needs to have a big-time college football passing game next year to complement the best running back tandem in probably Big Ten history, and maybe, depending on what they do this year, in the history of college football. Number 2, develop a cornerback next to Will Johnson. I think it's absolutely vital, and we will talk about that in my segment that has my 2023 perfect offseason later on in the live show or on demand this weekend. Develop a second cornerback. I think it's the only weak spot of the entire Michigan football team heading into spring football. Next up, you got to have elite red zone passing. So you let J.J. Cook go downfield more, pass more than 22 times a game, et cetera, get more than 20 touchdowns a season. But Michigan's passing game in the red zone really stunk this entire year. Honestly, up until the TCU game when they absolutely had to, when they were down by 18 points at times in the game. They're down 3 scores for most of the game. They couldn't get the job done without Blake Corum inside the red zone running the ball, and they didn't have anything going on with the passing game for most of the season. Matt Weiss reportedly was in charge of the red zone passing game. He's gone. Can Kirk Campbell, the new quarterbacks coach, implement something that helps Michigan score and be more dangerous passing the ball so teams can't just stop put 8, 9 people in the box inside the 10-yard line? Next up, this is a big problem. I think Michigan's had all kinds of mental blocks under Harbaugh. First of all, you can't win Ohio State. Then you can't win a road game against a ranked team, and then you always losing that one game that you probably should win against like a number 22 ranked team, et cetera. And then last 2 years, you kind of got past them, but you still had that hiccup last year. Oh gosh, you still on the road against Michigan State when you're up 2 scores in the 16 points the second half. But you got the job against Ohio State. You check that box. You got the road wins, Nebraska, Wisconsin, etc. You beat Michigan State this year, got that. Undefeated season, got that. But there's still one thing hanging out there. I'm not even talking the national championship. I am talking about Jim Harbaugh just can't seem to get it done in the postseason. I don't know why. You've had 4 weeks to prepare for Georgia, 4 weeks to prepare for TCU, and you absolutely just did not show up in those games. So I want them to bring that Ohio State mentality to every game this year. Do not let up. Do not get too big for your britches, and go into the playoff. If you can get into the Big Ten title game, if you can beat Ohio State, go to the college football playoff again. Go into that game the same mentality did against Ohio State, because those turned out 2 of the best performances in the history of the Michigan football program. And the last one, folks, you got to get lucky. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Michigan got lucky this year that, Jake Moody made all of his field goals against Maryland. Michigan got lucky that Ohio State dropped a couple passes in the first half, and they couldn't get a 2 or 3 score lead when they looked like they were moving the ball at will. Michigan's, you got to get lucky to win a national championship, and I think that's definitely a key. I don't know how to quantify that, but that's seriously the last thing I could think of. Matty Ice, who will be our number 1 wide receiver? Pretty good question. Jack, if you don't mind, we probably have it. How about that wide receiver depth chart? I know we've got that for a later segment of the show. Why don't we bring it up now to talk about it with Matty Ice? So we're going to have, how about the wide receiver leaders from last year? So we'll bring up the wide receiver leaders. Ronnie Bell was the guy this past year, and that was pretty obvious. Everybody knows that. But Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, coming back. Those are going to be your 2 starting wide receivers. And I think the money would certainly have to be on those guys. But there's other players. Michigan's got 3 freshman wide receivers that seemingly are athletic freaks. Right now, Marion Walker might be going over to the defensive side of the ball, as we said. But I like what we saw about Cornelius Johnson against Ohio State. Obviously, 2 long touchdowns. TCU as well. Roman Wilson didn't get enough snaps this year. I think he will end up being in the slot, and Michigan, one of the redshirt freshman, sophomore wide receivers from last year, will kind of step up into a starting role. I don't think, Tyler Morris or others, I don't think it's going to be A.J. Henning. Andrel Anthony headed to Oklahoma. So if I'm going to guess right now, I'm just going to say Cornelius Johnson. Sometimes a guy just needs that one big game to break out. That's what Cornelius Johnson had against Ohio State. He's coming back for a 5th season, and I'm going to put him 50 catches, 800 yards, 6 touchdowns. I know those don't sound like that great numbers, but frankly, under Jim Harbaugh, those are some of the best numbers that any Michigan wide receivers put up, because Michigan just does not seem to be able to pass the ball in the red zone or consistently find one wide receiver to get the ball to. If you guys like what you see, if you've enjoyed the show and you've yet to subscribe, go ahead and do it. It's free. We put out shows for you. If you don't like it, unsubscribe in the future. But subscribers allow us to get more in your feed when you go to YouTube. And then YouTube says, okay, hey, there's other people like you that are in your same age range, same location. You're watching the show. You're subscribed. We'll show it to them too. See if they feel the same. So every subscriber counts. So please subscribe if you haven't. And if you have and you want to help us out even more, grab that link. It's in the description. It's in the comments of today's video. And I'm going to toss it in the live chat. Go ahead and send it to your Michigan football friends, your group chat, etc. YouTube.com/Michigan TV. How about this one coming in from Yoder's daddy? It's a picture of Urban Meyer. All right. Do you think we'll see some offensive line transfers after spring football? Good question. Because I'm confused a little bit. Jim Harbaugh convinced 3 starters from the Pac-12, 2 at Stanford, 1 at Arizona State, to come over to Michigan. And coming into the Michigan football spring game, which has been announced for April 1st, all right? Michigan's going to play that. So that means they're going to start spring practice here in about 2 weeks, it seems like, although it's not officially being announced. Michigan got 3 starters from the Pac-12. You got a left tackle who was a right tackle last year. He's going to play left tackle at Michigan from Arizona State. You got a tackle, Miles Hinton from Stanford. You got a center from Stanford. But you're returning, 4 starters and 6 guys who have starting experience from last year. Ryan Hayes, Olu Oluwatimi, they're gone. But Carson Barnhart, he started a bunch of games. Zach Zinter might be the best guard in college football. Trevor Keegan, one of the best guards in college football. Behind them, you've got guys who've started. Giovanni El-Hadi, Reese Atterbury got a starter too. Trente Jones was the starter to start last season at right tackle. So you've got the 5 starters I'm projecting here. Henderson out of Arizona State. Trevor Keegan, Drake Nugent from Stanford. They're starting center next year. Zinter and Carson Barnhart. Then Miles Hinton, Stanford starter. Giovanni El-Hadi started a few games in Michigan. Reese Atterbury started a couple games in Michigan last year. And Trente Jones started half the season for Michigan. You basically have 2 starting offensive lines right there. Now, 3 or 4 of those guys from the starters will be gone after next season. So maybe Harbaugh's selling some of those transfers. Listen, being the 2 deep in 2023, Miles Hinton, Trente Jones, you're a guy in 2024. All right? That's maybe a good sales pitch. This is the best offensive line in college football, back-to-back years. I get it. But I wouldn't be surprised if somebody transferred. I don't think it's going to be I guess it could be one of those guys who transferred in. I'm not sure what the rules are like that. If you can transfer and transfer out, I don't really know the rules that work. But maybe somebody like Greg Crippen or Trente Jones, who thought they were right on the cusp. Trente Jones was a starter last year, got injured, really wasn't performing well. I could see him. No inside info on that, but maybe he doesn't want to wait another year. Maybe he doesn't want to be a backup for another year. Go take a stab somewhere else. Maybe Greg Crippen. Okay, Michigan's kind of recruited over him back-to-back off seasons with transfer centers from Power 5 schools. Maybe he says, hey, I've been a backup for a couple years. I want to go try somewhere else. I could see the transfer portal's back open May 1st through May 15th. Wouldn't be surprised, but nothing that I've heard that is imminent or likely to happen just yet. All right, Richard Iacoca, cool name. Do you think Michigan will get any more players from the portal if there are any left? Now, I don't think they're going to get anybody that's out there. And I haven't looked at the transfer portal in a couple weeks since it closed down 2.5 weeks ago, because players had 45 days from December 4th, 5th until mid to late January to enter it. And Michigan had every opportunity to talk to those players. But there are a lot of guys, there's 1,000 some players out there who are in the transfer portal who get to sign with the school. So maybe, but no one they've contacted yet from all of the things that I've heard and I can tell. I do expect Michigan to analyze this team intently, like they should as coaches, and come out of spring practice, say, all right, who is a player who either is the 3rd guy at Alabama or Georgia or Florida or some school, but he maybe could be a starter. Or maybe he's like Damani Jackson, big-time recruit, who's not fitting in with someone at USC, 5-star. Maybe a lot of rumors out there about Damani Jackson, so don't be afraid to keep an eye out for that one. May 1st. May 1st through 15th, there's going to be a lot of guys who transfer after spring ball. Or hell, maybe it's someone at Toledo or Eastern Michigan, blows up, had a great sophomore year, crushing it, being projected as an all-conference player, and he might just say, hey, I'm not going to spend my last 2 years at Eastern Michigan. I'm going to go to Michigan. That's potential to happen. I think cornerback is the absolute number 1 spot they need to identify. Maybe wide receiver. Maybe quarterback. I know they got the guy from Indiana, but maybe a quarterback who could sit behind J.J. McCarthy for a year and have a year or 2 to start himself. I know Michigan likes Davis Warren, but keep an eye out May 1st through 15th. Let me know, guys. Here's the question I want to pose to you. Who was the Michigan football quarterback, the starting quarterback, the season you became a fan? For me, it was Elvis Grbac, a wee boy at Hinckley Elementary School in Hinckley, Ohio. I was the only Michigan fan in the entire school, and Elvis Grbac four-year starting quarterback for Michigan from Cleveland, Ohio, kind of 20 minutes from where I grew up, was starting quarterback. But let me know. Casey Scott says Wilton Spade. Theodore Dodge says Ricky Leach, number 7, four-year starter, true freshman quarterback. Rich T says Rick Leach as well with a little wink. Rich T, I wonder who that is. Bill Graves says Harbaugh, so mid-80s, Jim Harbaugh, 84, 85, 86. Let me know in the comments or if you're in the live chat who the Michigan football quarterback. Don Moorhead, I know the name. I actually don't remember what years he was. So, Netmag, let me know what year that Don Moorhead was the quarterback. I don't have time. I don't have the ability to look it up at the moment. Dennis Franklin, another 70s guy as well. Scotty Haft says Harbaugh. I should have known that. Netmag says 1969. Michigan beats Ohio State 24-12, breaks the Buckeyes' 2-year undefeated streak. Number 1 Ohio State comes in Bo Schembechler's first year in as Michigan's coach, and Michigan gets the upset of the century, 24-12 in 1969 over the number 1 Buckeyes, quarterbacked by Don Moorhead. Watching the game was our own Netmeg. First game in person, by the way, for Netmeg. That's a pretty cool little factoid. How can Michigan lose out on Harbaugh to South Carolina? Well, I wish I knew, because if you think about it, I saw somebody put this out on Twitter a couple weeks ago. It was like Wolverine something on Twitter, Wolverine Chronicle. I don't know what it was. It was like, okay, what has Nicholas Harbaugh said over his recruitment? He said a couple things, quite a few things. I want academics. South Carolina, I don't know. All right, South Carolina, Michigan, okay. I want a great track program. Well, South Carolina's got like the 12th best track program in the SEC. I want a good football program. Well, South Carolina's had a couple of years, but Michigan's back-to-back playoffs. Oregon's been a top 10 program over the last 20 years or so. South Carolina has one good year every 4 or 5. So I guess it just came down to name, image, and likeness. I really can't tell you anything else. And maybe his mom wanted South Carolina for some reason is what it sounds like. I was surprised. It seemed like it was going to be Michigan or Oregon. They were going to kind of come in with a big NIL deal from the West Coast. There was a guy offering him on Twitter like a $50,000, $60,000 car a few weeks. I remember it was like a $60,000 Jeep, souped-up Jeep or something like that. I said, South Carolina broke boys, a Jeep. Hey, you want to come on the Michigan Football Report weekly, Nicholas Harbaugh, as a Michigan player? We'll buy you an Escalade, okay? Cool. I mean, that's $500 a week. We can afford that. Nicholas Harbaugh giving us insights. But he chose not to. Go to South Carolina. The only thing I can say is name, image, and likeness, and maybe the Jim Harbaugh NFL dalliance that whole last month of his recruitment that maybe played a factor in it, and you cannot deny that would be the case. Thanks so much for the question from Jacksonville. Zoe, you've been watching the Michigan Football Report from Chat Sports. I am your host, James Yoder. That wraps up our first mailbag on today's live show. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel.